Welcome back to Gut Check Time. I am your host. Before I start this video, can you please hit that like button and subscribe down below if you want more content like this in the future? Thank you. It's been a busy week. I haven't been able to get these picks out. They're going to come out late. They will be out on time for most of the Saturday games. Um, and I wanted to get this done earlier, but like I said, just busy with Thanksgiving and everything. But here we go. First up, the game, Ohio State versus Michigan. Um, Probably the biggest rivalry in college football. The problem is with it is Ohio State's dominated it the last um, 20 years or 17 or 19 years, sorry. And since 2000, Michigan's only won 2 games. And then before that, on till 1980, Michigan is 15-6 versus Ohio State. So this really hasn't been an even rivalry ever in the last 40 years. Um, so in my opinion, a little bit overrated in that fact because if it's not really a rivalry if one team dominates the other. If in my opinion, domination is winning 80% of the time. So if you play 10 games and the team wins 8 out of the 10 times, that's domination. I think get away with saying you weren't dominated if you only win 70% of the time. 60-40 is pretty much a toss-up. That's what I would like my rivalries to be at, if you want to call it a so-called rivalry. And this really hasn't been a rivalry the last 4 years. But anyways, it's still a tremendous game. It's going to be a good game. Number 1, Ohio State at number 13, Michigan. Michigan's getting 8.5 points, and I like Michigan getting 8.5 points. It's going to be crummy weather. Dwayne Haskins is a better quarterback than Justin Fields. And when I mean better at throwing. Justin Fields, obviously, all around is probably a better quarterback. I'm going to take Michigan plus 8.5. I'm going to take Ohio State to win the game, though, 27-21. And I'm going the under of 49.5. Barely, though. Only a point and a half there. Reason being, this will be Ohio State's biggest test with a quarterback and and going against a team that throws. Shea Patterson's not great, but he's better than anything they've gone against in the past. Adrian Martinez has had a pretty bad year. They played Penn State and Sean Clifford got hurt. Then they went up against a backup, and I believe Will Gavitz or Will Glitz. I'm not sure how you say his last name. And he was mostly a running quarterback. He had success with the RPO game, but it was already too late. And to be honest with you, if Ohio State doesn't turn the ball over, they probably win that game like 35-10. So yeah, I think Shea Patterson will be the best quarterback they face, but that doesn't say much because Shea Patterson is not great. Defensively, this will probably be the second best defense they faced. I think Wisconsin's better than Michigan. I think Michigan and Penn State are on the same level, but I think Michigan's pass defense is a little bit better than Penn State's. And if you can make Ohio State one-dimensional and make Justin Fields throw 40 times, you got a real shot in this game because I don't think he's good enough to beat you 40 times through the air. But like I said, I just don't think that's going to happen. I think Ohio State's going to use their athletes better than Michigan does, and I think they have more athletes than Michigan does, especially on the offensive side of the football against Michigan's defense. So like I said, I'm going to take Ohio State 27-21, but closer than people think. Next up, we have Wisconsin versus Minnesota. For myself, this is the most exciting game of the day. I'm going to take Minnesota to win this game. They're an underdog at home, which is ridiculous to me. They're the better team from what I've seen. They can actually do things on the offensive side of the football that Wisconsin is not capable of because they have Rashad Bateman and Tyler Johnson. And they also have Tanner Morgan back there. And Wisconsin really doesn't have any outside threats. And, I mean, their quarterback's not that good. And you can say that since Russell Wilson left there. And before him, you can say that too. You're going to have to rely on Jonathan Taylor a lot, and I really hope Minnesota just loads the box and let their cornerbacks play one-on-one with Wisconsin's wide receivers. Stop Jonathan Taylor, you will win this game. It's that simple. If you don't, you're going to lose. I think they do stop him, or at least bottle him up for a little bit, let's say 30 carries for 120 yards. You do something like that, 4 yards a carry, you'll beat him. I'm taking Minnesota 27-24. I'm taking Minnesota plus 2.5, and I'm taking the over of 46. Next up, the Iron Bowl. Another rivalry game, another big game. Number 5, Alabama versus number 15, Auburn. Auburn's getting 3 at home. Kind of surprising to me. I think Auburn's got the better overall team. I think their defense is better than Alabama's, especially their defensive line. I believe Auburn has the best defensive line in football, period. I also believe that the offenses at this point aren't that different because you have Bo Nix, freshman from Auburn. You have Mac Jones at Alabama. I'm not sure what year he is, but I mean, he might as well be a freshman. He's only played in 2 games. And that was versus Western Carolina in the second half versus Mississippi State. So I don't really know what to think of this guy. It'll be interesting to watch him today, see how he does. He's going to be under a lot of pressure from Derek Brown and others on the Auburn defensive line. That defensive line is for real. They're going to have 3 to 4 NFL. Well, they're all going to be in the NFL. Derek Brown will probably be a top 15 pick. He's a monster. He reminds me a lot of Ed Oliver. I think he's a little bit stronger than Ed Oliver. I'm going to take Auburn to win this game. I think they're going to win it 24-20. I don't think. I hope they beat Alabama because I don't want to see Alabama in the playoff. They don't deserve to be in the playoff. Their schedule was terrible, and the only good team they played, they lost to. Now, if they do beat Auburn, they have a little bit of a case. But to me, I would put Oklahoma in if they went out, and then if they don't win out, I put Utah in. I think Utah. I still think Oregon's a better team than Auburn. People say, "Well, Auburn lost to Oregon." Guess what? Oregon was up in that game for a total of what? Game 60 minutes. So they're up for 59 minutes and 52 seconds. Auburn led that game for 8 seconds, the whole game, 8 seconds. So I think game control at some point you have to look at. If you're only up by 8 seconds in the game, can you really say you're that much better? I think you can say you stayed in the game and then you won, and you were probably lucky to do so. That's true. You won the game, but I don't think they're the better team. I think if Oregon played Auburn right now, Oregon would beat Auburn. I'm going to take, like I said, Auburn, though. I'm going to take Auburn +3, and I'm going to take the under 49.5 here. Next up, Texas A&M versus LSU. LSU is going to want revenge on Texas A&M after last year. 7 overtimes. LSU kind of got screwed going overtime on a bad spot on a first down when it wasn't a first down. And Texas A&M went down, scored, forced into overtime, and then 7 overtimes later, Texas A&M wins. I think LSU rolls them in this game. I think it keeps under what the spread is, though. A&M's getting 17 points. I think LSU wins 41-26. For the simple fact, I could see LSU, kind of what they do to the lower-level teams in the SEC, where they get up like 41-10, and then they kind of like just coast from there on out, and then A&M puts up some garbage time points. So I'm going to take A&M +17. I'm taking the over of 64 here. That's a low over. I think LSU, if they wanted to, could probably put up 50 points, so you're only counting on A&M to put up 14. LSU's going to destroy them. I'm pretty confident that LSU's not. If there was a confidence level to every game of the whole week, I would take LSU number 1 on that because they're not losing to A&M at home after what happened last year, being the number 2 team in the country. It's not happening. Next up, Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State. This is an underrated rivalry. Bedlam is always fun to watch, always a good game, always tight. It's hard for me. I'm going to take Oklahoma to win this game for the simple fact Tylan Wallace, best wide receiver Oklahoma State has, gone. Spencer Sanders, electric freshman, redshirt freshman quarterback, is out. And they had the transfer from Hawaii, I believe, at quarterback, and Drew Brown. I actually predicted him to be the starter at the beginning of the year because he came over from Hawaii. I thought they'd give him the job. Kind of fits in that offense well. But once I saw Spencer Sanders, I understood why. So even if Drew Brown's not as good as Spencer Sanders, if he can be 80% of what Spencer Sanders is, that's pretty damn good because Spencer Sanders is a really good quarterback. I'm going to take Oklahoma to win this game 37-27. And you think, well, that's kind of a big spread. Kind of, but the spread here is 13. Oklahoma's given up 13 points, so I'm taking Oklahoma State to cover, and I would probably take them to win the game if they had Spencer Sanders and Tylan Wallace. And I think this is going to be a 30-27 game, and then Oklahoma puts out a reach with the touchdown late. So like I said, 37-27. I'm taking Oklahoma State +13, and I'm taking the under of 69. That's way too many points. Oklahoma State plays a little bit of defense. Usually rivalry games are going to be a little bit more lower scoring. I could see this going into halftime being a 13-7 or 13-10 type game or somewhere around there, 17-13 type game. So I don't see them putting up 40 to 50 points in the second half. Like I said, I'm going to take Oklahoma 37-27. I'm going to take Oklahoma State +13, and I'm going to take the under 69. Now let's pick some games. Like I said, I missed some games. I'm going to run through them. I'm going to even put some of the games that already happened on here to show what I was thinking. Back to beat Virginia. I'm glad Virginia won. It had been 15 years since they won or beat Virginia Tech. So that was nice. It was a good win for Bronco Mendenhall. And now your punishment is Clemson in the ACC championship game. I think they will hang tough in that game in the first half, but I think Clemson destroys them in the second half. But I was wrong on that. I would have picked Virginia Tech. Next up, Iowa versus Nebraska. It turned out to be a pretty good game. I would have taken Iowa. Boise State versus Colorado State. I don't know one. When I saw it last, Boise State won. That's what I would have taken. App State versus Troy. I'm taking App State. I don't know if that already happened. UGA versus Georgia Tech. Georgia versus Georgia Tech. I'm going to take Georgia for the simple fact Georgia Tech's not any good. I think this game will be close, though, because Lawrence Cager, I believe, is out for Georgia, their biggest outside wide receiving threat. Even though they do have George Pickens, an electric freshman, they don't really utilize him enough, in my opinion. They like to run the ball. If I'm Georgia Tech, I'm doing the same thing that I think Minnesota should do to Wisconsin. I'm loading the box. I'm having no safeties back there. I'm playing one-on-one until you beat me over the top. And then I'll throw a safety back there. And if you beat me again, I'll throw two. But until you do that, I am loading that box on DeAndre Swift. Next up, Clemson versus South Carolina. I'm going to take Clemson to roll here by about 4 touchdowns. Next up, Baylor versus Kansas. Same thing. I think Baylor rolls them. Another blowout coming. Penn State or Rutgers at Penn State. I'm taking Penn State to kill Rutgers. Notre Dame versus Stanford. I'm taking Notre Dame to win this game pretty easily. I take that back. I think this will be a little bit closer than people think. I could see this being a 10-point game, which I believe the spread here is in the 20s. So it may not be, but that'd be my guess on it, is somewhere probably between 18 to 21 points. So I would take Stanford on that, but I think Notre Dame wins by probably 10 to 13 points. Oregon State versus Oregon. I'm going to take Oregon. Oregon State is much improved. I only had them having 1 or 2 wins the entire year. I believe they have 5, and they play Oregon. If they beat Oregon, they're bowl eligible. And to be honest, Oregon doesn't have that much to play for right now. I think they're already in the Pac-12 championship. They're not making the college football playoffs, so maybe Oregon State does go into Eugene and beat the Ducks. I doubt it, but we'll see. Iowa State versus Kansas State, good game. Iowa State ranked 23, Kansas State unranked. Whoever wins this game will be ranked at the end of the year. That will put Iowa State at 8-4 if they win, Kansas State at 8-4 if they win. I think you're ranked. I think both these teams are pretty good. They're not great. They're pretty similar to each other. They throw it a lot with Brock Purdy. Kansas State likes to mix it up with Skylar Thompson, and they both play pretty good defense. Iowa State playing fantastic defense at some points during the season. And then Florida State versus Florida used to be a good rivalry, not anymore. I'm going to take Florida to win the game, but I think it's going to be close. Just for the simple fact, I think FSU's played better under Rashad Higgins, I believe his name is, the interim head coach. He's been there for 26 years. So I think Florida wins the game, but I think it's closer than people think. I think they really like playing for him, and I think they want him to get to the permanent head coaching job. I don't think that'll happen even if he does win the game, just because I think he doesn't draw enough interest in recruits, and I think that's a really stupid idea because I think Ed Orgeron should have got the job at USC, and I think they'd be better off than they are now. Go with what's best for your football team. Go with what's proven. I hate splash hires. I think they're stupid. I don't think they work most of the time when you just hire a big name, unless the big name is obviously Nick Saban or Urban Meyer. Neither of those guys are coming to Florida State. So if you think Higgins could work there, then sign him, see what he can do. If you don't, then let him go. But if it's just because, he's not a big enough name, that's a dumb way to hire a football coach, in my opinion. Colorado versus Utah. I'm going to take Utah to win. They've got too much to play for. If they win out, in my opinion, from what I've seen, they've killed everyone they played the last 4 or 5 weeks. I'm putting them in the college football playoff. They play fantastic defense. They don't turn the ball over. They're very disciplined and don't get a lot of penalties. They're just an all-around good football team. I think they'd give, to be honest, if they played LSU or Ohio State, I think they'd give them real problems just because of their defense and their secondary. They have a lot of NFL players on defense. I think they'd give LSU especially a lot of problems. I don't know if they probably wouldn't play LSU. They'd be the number 4 team, so they'd probably end up playing Ohio State. I think that game would be close in the first half, but I think Ohio State would eventually pull away just because they have more athletes. But I'm taking Utah to beat Colorado here. That'll do it for the college football gambling picks this week. Can you please hit that like button? Please subscribe. Thank you.